Hey, yo, what's up? This disciple Marshall Currents reign back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-America all day. So this message is basically going to be about um, America has no problem with pedophilia in the form of child marriage. America has no problem with pedophilia in the form of child marriage. As long as you call it child marriage, they don't got no problem with it. Al, that's 7 Al. Al, they ain't got no problem with child pedophilia and pedophiles as long as they marry the children. These the same people that sang the Whitney Houston song. I believe the children are the future. Them same people. Ow. I believe the children are the future. You have no problem with pedophilia as long as it's in child marriage. You have no problem with child marriage, and that's pedophilia. Well, it's the same age of children. It's the bottom line is it's the same age of children. And here's a news flash for all you Americans. Okay, the child marriage is not just for 16 and 17-year-old children. Boom, ow, ow. That's all we talking about, big baby. The child marriage is not for 15, 16, and 17-year-old children. That's a fact. And I got to do a video about this. Because the way they put it is like it's all of this stuff with children is all old children. Or 15, 16, and 17. That's what they think that's applicable to. That's only applicable to 15 and 16 and 17-year-old children. I'm sorry to tell you, child marriage is for ages under that. In fact, 3 10-year-old girls were married in the state of Tennessee. Go look it up. Right here in America. 3 10-year-old girls. All the girls was 10-year-old, 3 of them. 3 of these 10-year-old girls in Tennessee was married to adults. That's all you need to know. I don't care what age. I don't care if they just turned 18. They were married to adults. Okay? These are real marriages because you want to hear some real marriages. There you go right there. And the youngest boy, male that was married in your country was 11 years old. 11-year-old boy married, man, right here in America, buddy. See, so you telling me that ain't pedophilia to marry an 11-year-old kid? That's a 7 Al, boom, Al. You telling me it ain't pedophilia for people to marry 10-year-old girls as fully grown adults? That's not pedophilia. Those are the same ages y'all go after, bro. That's the same ages y'all go after. In other words, if somebody's messing with an 11-year-old boy, y'all going after that. If somebody's messing with a 10-year-old girl, y'all going after that. So what's the difference when somebody marries them? What's the difference when these people marry these 10-year-old girls, 3 10-year-old girls in the state of Tennessee? Go Google it. 3 10-year-old girls married in Tennessee. What's the difference? When y'all up in arms about somebody messing with a 10-year-old girl out here on these streets? What's the difference? What's the difference if y'all will be up in arms about somebody messing with an 11-year-old boy? What's the difference? You know what's the difference? They fooled you with a Jedi mind trick talking about child marriage. That's their Jedi mind trick. That's their Jedi mind trick. Right? Because there's no such, let's establish this. There's no such thing as a child marriage. How is a child compatible with an adult? How is a child compatible mentally, emotionally, spiritually with an adult? So the only thing going on is sex, and the sexuality isn't even compatible. How is somebody sexually compatible with a child? That's a 7 Al, boom, Al. How is an adult sexually compatible with a child when a man's penis is too big for a 10-year-old girl. So you're not sexually compatible. You have a fully grown adult penis. How are you sexually compatible with the vagina of a 10-year-old girl? If you're a fully grown woman, how are you sexually compatible with an 11-year-old boy who probably can't even get an erection? Make it make sense. So there's no compatibility. Actually, there's not even sexual compatibility. Yet, 3 10-year-old girls were married in Tennessee. Yet, a 11-year-old boy was married to a fully grown woman. The little boy probably couldn't even get an erection. Why did she marry an 11-year-old boy then? And that is pedophilia. I don't care what you say. And all you Freemasons walking around here like you run the world and you on top of the earth, how come you ain't do nothing about it? Huh? Yeah, you supposed to be running things. How come you ain't do nothing about that? How come you're not doing nothing about child marriage in America? And you have not done nothing about child marriage in America. For the Illuminati, how come you ain't done nothing about child marriage in America? Huh? What's your excuse? What is your excuse? You don't have one. That's why we rule and reign after all. That's why the kingdom of God rules and reigns. See how you slipping? Because you can't say it's 16-year-old girls when it's when 10-year-old, when 3 10-year-old girls were married in Tennessee. You can't say that's 16. You can't say it. All you can do is play games and sound campaigns outside my apartment. That's all you can do. An animal can do that. Boom, ow. That don't mean nothing to me. An animal can do what you're doing, playing games outside and playing with doors and stuff outside my apartment. An animal can do that. Pull together the real information on this country, information that nobody knew. You can't tell me 10-year-old girls, you can't tell me there's an excuse for that, for you not saying anything about this. You're Freemasons. How come you ain't saying nothing about it? How come you still got all these charities for children, but you totally ignore child marriage in your country? Yeah, I can talk to the best. Listen, you don't realize this is the revolution. I can talk to the best. You have 43 states of child marriage. And you're talking about what? You're talking about who? You're playing psychological games and you still got 43 states of child marriage? Okay. Child marriage is pedophilia in America. That's what it is. You tell me the difference. There is no difference. It's a way of them trying to act like they're doing the honorable thing and they're not. How are you doing the honorable thing when there's no such thing as child marriage? A child cannot be married. It's undeveloped. The vagina of a child is undeveloped. So how can they be married? How can they be married? The brain of a child is undeveloped. So how can they be in a marriage and they got an undeveloped brain? That's a 7 owl, boom, owl. How can a child be in a marriage and it's undeveloped? Their breasts are undeveloped. This is pedophilia. And the Jedi mind trick is, oh, it's child marriage. That's how they got you thinking. But if somebody go outside and mess with the same age of child, it's not child marriage, is it? If somebody go have sex with a 10-year-old girl, it's not child marriage, is it? If somebody go have sex with that 11-year-old boy who was married in your country outside of documents, that's not child marriage, is it? You go outside and mess with a 10-year-old girl talking about child marriage and see what happens to you, buddy. Hey, you go outside messing with a 10-year-old girl talking about they got child marriage, so it makes it legal. You go outside and do that and see what happens to you. That's what I'm trying to show you. You go outside holding hands with a 10-year-old girl like you're in a romantic relationship with her and see what the community do to you. But yet, here we are, where 3 10-year-old girls were married in your country. 3 10-year-old girls married in a child marriage. But yet, let somebody go outside messing around a 10-year-old girl sexually and see what happens to them. But it's legal here through child marriage. Same thing, different format. Same activity, different format. That's all it is. It's a Jedi mind trick. And I can talk to the police. I have called the police stations about it. I've called the community affairs about this. In your community, in your New York City community. Why you think I'm a slouch or somebody to play with? You might want to be a little careful about that, buddy. Because I've talked to the police about this. See, that's what real leaders do. That's what real activists do. That's what real rebels do too. That's what real revolutionaries do. I can look all these men in the face while you bound your head when they pass you. I can look at all of them in the face. I can look every one of them, including police, in the face. Well, how can I look them in the face? But I called them. That's a 7 hour. Yeah, I've already talked to the police about this. And you know what the police said at Community Affairs? Thank you, sir, for this information. God bless you. He blessed me for this information. While you ignorant, chicken-eating fools thinking you can play with me. You can't play with me. Keep eating your 6-piece. But you can't play with me, buddy. You're way out of league playing with me. You got child marriage in your country, and it's pedophilia. That's what it is. Let's break it down to what it is. Okay, the details is a fully grown adult with a child. That's the details. Okay, so the details are what? Pedophilia. A child with an adult sexually is pedophilia. Okay, so so what's the difference between the details of child marriage and the details of what pedophiles do with children? What's the difference? What's the difference? What's the difference in details, in activity that the child has with the adult? What's the difference? What's the difference? Tell me what's the difference. What's the difference between adults having sex with children without a marriage and child marriage where the adult still has sex with the children? What's the difference? So you think you're playing with me, and we already have you today. We have you today, and that's why the spiritual repercussions are so total and hardcore, because we have you today. With the same judgment that you put out, it's sent back to you. Okay, you got a standard of people not messing with children. Are you think you can corrupt people to think certain things and play and turn them into pedophiles? None of that works, buddy. You've been watching sci-fi too much. You've been watching too much sci-fi. Spirituality is more powerful than sci-fi, buddy. Ow, that's a 7. Spirituality is more powerful than science, games of science and sci-fi games. Okay? I'm blessed. I'm going to live. And all of your fake, foolish, psychological games are defeated. Okay? You have child marriage, and you underestimate the power of God bringing judgment on your entire country. Not just you. That wouldn't be fair. You attack innocent people. It's only right for innocent people to be attacked. That's the proper karma. You didn't know that, did you? Oh, you thought the proper karma would be to attack you. The proper karma is to attack innocent people in your country like you attack innocent people. Boom. The proper karma is to attack innocent people in your country as you have attacked innocent people. Not to attack you. We gonna get you and innocent people. That's the right karma. So you can see the suffering as you can see the same type of attack that you in the same type of suffering that you put out. Now you can see it inflicted on you in the form of innocent people in your community being defeated and put to death. God is going to do it. I don't have to do nothing about it. See, that's the beautiful thing about being spiritual. What you gonna say? I'm doing it? Oh, am I really doing it? Am I doing it? How am I doing it? Can you explain it? Can you intelligently explain what I'm doing? Can you make it make sense to your logical authorities what I'm doing? Especially when I'm telling information about child marriage in your community. Can you tell them logically what I am doing that's wrong? In fact, I'm the opposite. I'm showing what you're doing that's wrong. Al, we're seeing what you're doing that's wrong, which is the child marriage in its pedophilia. You know what this means? You know what this means for people that don't know any better? This is the beginning of anarchy, where there's a lawless society. And I'm going to tell you why. Hear me out. And I got to do a video on this too. I got to keep campaigning about this too. It's leading up to a lawless society because no one feels the need to obey the law system that allows adults to marry children, but yet they witch hunt and play games with people in concerning children and pedophiles and all of that. That right there is bringing a collapse to your law system altogether. No one is going to obey it. No one is going to obey a country that has child marriage and it's nothing but pedophilia, because it's the same ages that people that you accuse people of being pedophiles when they interact with these ages. Those are the same ages that you accuse people of being pedophiles with. Okay, 10-year-old girls, 11-year-old boy in a marriage, that ain't nothing but pedophilia. You ain't fooling me. So what happens is when your community has done this and have put these laws out there. When they put these laws out there, no one feels the need in their right mind to obey the law system altogether. This is how it's collapsed you. This is how it's collapsed your community. No one feels the need to obey it at all. No one is going to obey you much longer. Because why would they? You have full-blown child marriage, which is pedophilia. No one is stupid and retarded. That is pedophilia. There is no such thing as a child marriage. How can a child be in a marriage? It can't work. A child cannot work. So it can't provide. Okay, it can't be intellectually compatible with an adult on the average, right? On the average, a child cannot be compatible mentally. So where's the compatibility? Where's the compatibility that you would find in a marriage? You said marriage, right? Okay, so we're going with the real definition first, which consists of compatibility between a man and a woman. So if you don't have that intellectual, spiritual, and physical compatibility, then how is it a marriage? I'm not talking about joining together so you can get your rocks off. I'm not talking about that because that's what you're doing. I'm saying, how is it defined as a marriage when an adult is not compatible mentally, physically, spiritually, sexually even with a child? There is no compatibility. So how is there a marriage? I'm not using a Jedi mind trick. I'm giving you the facts. How is it a marriage when there's no compatibility? People break up when there's no compatibility. Marriages that don't, let me tell you something. Marriages that don't have compatibility break up, right or wrong. Right or wrong. Fully grown adult marriages that lack compatibility do not stand. So how can a child marriage stand without compatibility? You want me to tell you how? Because it never was a marriage in the first place. All it is documents with pedophiles having sex with children. That's all it is. It's documents that brings adults and children together. And it's a white, and here it is. It's a white racist, I'm gonna say it's a white superior, white supremacist entitlement. It's white American entitlement. That's what it is. It's privileges that the white Americans give to their counterparts. It's a privilege that they give to their tribe. Because at the end of the day, let's be 100. Child marriage is happening more with white Americans, and pedophilia is happening more with white Americans. Bottom line. And this is something that white American Christians need to know. Your tribe is more responsible for pedophilia, which explains why child marriage is in America, being that it's a white it's a white country. At the end of the day, America is still a white country. And this explains why you have child marriage in a country that is ran by the white tribe, because the white tribe has a known credibility for having, or a known reality of having sex with children and being infatuated with children and being sexually attracted to children. No other tribe here in America, no other tribe here is more sexually attracted to children than the Europeans, the white Americans. This, and you want me to show you how I proved it? Because you have registered sex offenders, more than half of them are white Americans. More than half of the registered sex offenders are white Americans. Let's talk about the percentages. More than half of the white Americans, the registered sex offenders are white Americans. Bottom line. So what does that tell you? The white Americans have a problem with pedophilia. Well, if more than half of the registered sex offenders are white people, then how can you act like it's a joint problem with everybody? It's a cultural problem with everybody. Because one thing is for sure, black people ain't marrying no children. Come on, man. Anybody that know black people ain't marrying no children. That's facts. But guess who is, though? I'm pretty sure it's white Americans. Man. Oh, so it's Hispanics and Latinos and they got all these children? It doesn't even culturally make sense for anyone in this country to be marrying children but white Americans. And if the rest of you ethnicities would have stood down and let them take the blame instead of all of y'all taking the blame as the liability, this would be a different situation. But you want to stand with them, so you got to take the liability too. Because you're part of it. You're part of the function to fight for it to stand. You're fighting for the people that have child marriage. You're fighting for them to stand. Therefore, you have to take the liability. That's how this goes in the rodeo, buddy. You can't stand there and fight with them and support them and then talk about, well, we're not a part of it, or we ain't gonna get, we shouldn't get no liabilities. Come on, you're getting the liabilities too, whether you was a part of it or not, because you're sitting there fighting with them. What you need to realize is there is no greater liability than child marriage in your country. When it comes to, let me put it like this: when it comes to sexual acts with children, I know you got a lot of folklore and all this foolishness that you like to put around people. There's nothing worse that any individual can do than the American government has done with child marriage in your country. I don't care how you juice up somebody and tell all these million folklore stories about people like me or other people. There is no Freddy Krueger-like person that is worse than 43 states of child marriage in America. Ain't nothing worse than that. Marrying a child. Marrying a child. Do you see me married to a child? Having sex with a child over and over again? Laying around with a child, which is illegal too. All of it's illegal. Laying around butt naked with a child, that's illegal. And that's what they're doing in a child marriage, laying around butt naked with children. That's illegal, last time I checked. Laying around butt naked with a 10-year-old girl. Laying around butt naked with an 11-year-old girl. 11-year-old boy. A woman laying around butt naked with an 11-year-old boy. Ain't that illegal? Hey, that's not illegal. It's not illegal for a fully grown woman to lay around butt naked with an 11-year-old boy. That's not illegal. Well, that's what they're doing in a child marriage. They laying around butt naked with an 11-year-old boy. These 10-year-old girls that were married to adults are the adult men are laying around butt naked with 10-year-old girls. Just think about how that sounds. A fully grown man laying around butt naked with a 10-year-old girl. You telling me that ain't pedophilia? Oh, it's a child marriage. That's what you call it. A fully grown man laying around with a 10-year-old girl, butt naked, he butt naked and she butt naked? Man, you can't be serious. Who you think you playing with? And black people don't think like that. We know this culturally. So you'll say, well, some black people probably doing something. But let's put it like this. Who you think passed these laws? Black people or white people? Boom, ow. Who you think passed these child marriage laws? Black people? So somebody that's black, let's break it down for a minute. Let's slow it down for a little bit. So somebody that's a black politician, hear me out, listen. Somebody that's a black politician, right? Probably is going to reflect the values of black America, right? That black politician is different than his political counterparts that just waltz into political power, meaning the white counterparts. They just waltz into political power, pass child marriage laws and everything like that. See, the black politician has something to prove. He has something to do. He has something to uphold more than his lazy counterparts that just been going through the motions in Washington for way too long. The black counterpart he comes in with a mission usually. Usually most black politicians come in with a mission. You don't really have some morally lazy black politician that just come in just passing child marriage laws or anything like that. You know what I mean? Now you see what I'm saying? He's going his political position is going to reflect the injustices and discrimination of the black community. That's going to be one of his foundational reasons, or foundational reasons for getting into politics, or that's going to be one of his foundational purposes in politics, is to avenge discrimination of the African American community, right or wrong. He ain't gonna just lazily come into politics, morally lazy, just coming into politics saying, well, I'm just here. Black people don't really mean nothing to me. I'm just a black politician, but they don't mean nothing. Do you think that's the case? So it's safe to say that most black politicians are going to get into power keeping black discrimination in mind, all the racial stuff in mind, and upholding the values and desires of the African American community. And also he's going to reflect an awareness of African American culture. He's going to have his actions are going to reflect their values and their culture, right or wrong. So it's not the values and cultures of the African American community to marry children, is it? So it's safe to say that it's probably not an African American that passed these child marriage laws now, is it? It's safe to say that. It's safe, right? So we can exclude that it was African American politicians that passed these child marriage laws. Can we settle that? Can we settle it right here and right now? February 18th, 2023. Can we settle it right now that it wasn't African American politicians that passed these child marriage laws? Can we settle it right now? So you can stop acting like it was an American issue. No, it's a white American issue, and everybody that joined them is taking the liability. That's how that goes. Well, I don't care what color you are. If you join them, you suffer with them. But we got to put the blame where it belongs. I'm a just person. I'm a proper judge. I'm still putting the blame where it belongs. It wasn't the African Americans. They have no desire to marry children, culturally speaking. We know this. We know this part. So there's not going to be some politician that is black that is going to represent their values that would pass child marriage laws in 43 states. Now, we do see in the white American community, we do see that they are more than half of the registered sex offenders in America. White America makes that up. So it wouldn't be far-fetched if their tribe would pass child marriage laws. It wouldn't be far-fetched, would it? Would that be far-fetched? They're more than half, like 62% of the registered sex offenders. The white tribe alone, nobody else added to it. They're more than half of it. So is it far-fetched for me to assume that there's the same tribe that's makes up more than half of the registered sex offenders? Isn't it safe for me? Is it safe for me to assume that they probably passed child marriage laws? Their tribe did, because it's a practice and customs of their community and tribe to mess with children sexually. So if it's a custom, if it's part of their culture, if it's part of the white American culture, isn't it safe for me to believe that that culture will be reflected? It's safe to say whoever made these child marriage laws are the tribe that reflects sexual desire in their culture and tribe. The white Americans reflect sexual attraction to children through their culture, through their tribe. So it's safe to say who to identify tribe-wise would be those who have a high percentage, more than anybody else, of being sexually attracted to children. Wouldn't it be safe to point that tribe out and investigate that tribe for passing child marriage laws? Wouldn't it be safe? So you telling me the Asian Americans did it? So you're telling me Asian Americans passed child marriage laws in your country? Asian American politicians? That's ridiculous. So we can't blame the Asian Americans, can we? We can't blame them for child marriage laws, can we? We can't blame them, can we? It's not fair to make them part of the liability, is it? Okay, so we're excluding the Asian Americans. I'm pretty sure the Asian American politicians aren't the reason why we have 43 states of child marriage. So we established that it wasn't the Black Americans either. It wasn't the African Americans either, right? It wasn't them. So we know also that it probably ain't the Hispanic and Latino community, because they have, I'm just being 100, they have too many children to culturally have practices in their culture to marry children or to harm children. They have too many children. It's obvious. That's obvious. I'm not saying they don't have no pedophilia among them, but culturally they may feel a greater need to protect children because they have many children. That makes common sense. But even they get it wrong sometimes. Well, they got it wrong with me. I don't care how much of a protector of you are of children in the Hispanic and Latino community. I don't care how much you are a protector of children. The bottom line is you've been in a country with 43 states of child marriage and you ain't ringing the alarm on that. So honestly, you don't have the right to accuse anyone if you don't have proper evidence in the situation. Because you're here under a country. I gotta check you on this right quick. You're here in a country where they have 43 states of child marriage. So although you may be protectors of children culturally, you are still submitted to a country that has child marriage in 43 states, which excludes you also from being a judge when you're totally blind to child marriage in your own country that you're serving. You can't do it either. No Americans can do it because of the liability of 43 states of child marriage. So you know what that means? For all you dogmatic child protectors, you out of pocket trying to see who's a pedophile anymore when you got 43 states of child marriage. You can't do it anymore. In other words, there's a new sheriff in town, which is me. I'm the new sheriff in town because I am a higher level. Listen, I'm a higher level of authority. I'm a higher level of standard than you, even in the Hispanic and Latino community. How come you ain't been talking about it? How come you ain't been talking about child marriage? You're right here. You're making money here. You're living here. You're existing here. So then right here in this country, you don't have the right to witch hunt anybody, now do you? Well, if you was really feeling this way about children, how come you haven't expressed it towards your American government that you're making money from and working from to have 43 states with child marriage? That makes you a coward. Because if you're a real child protector, how come you haven't faced your greatest enemy, which is the American government that has 43 states of child marriage? I had to set you straight on that. Because there's many people that think because we are child protectors in our culture that you have the right to play around suspected child molesters. You don't have the right when your country has 43 states with child marriage. That's who you need to be checking if you are protectors of children. But you're not going to do that, are you? You're going to go after convenient enemies, just like most Americans do. You're not going to go after the real problem in the other words. Yeah, right there. Right there. You ain't going to go after the real enemy. You're going to go after convenient enemies. But I will say that because they have so many children, the Hispanic and Latino community, it's no way they would have passed child marriage laws. It just goes against their culture. So who does that leave? We've covered the Hispanic Latino community. We've covered the Asian community. We've covered the African American community. No one here has these desires. We don't see any high percentages of them having desires for children, but the white Americans. And put two and two together. Who runs this country? White Americans. So you got these laws in the country that's ran by white Americans, and the white Americans also are the highest percentage for pedophilia. Put two and two together, bro. And then if you had done this as a community, we would have been able to separate the liability from everybody. But no, you want to act like it's American fight, then you all are liable. Boom, ow. That's a 7, ow. But you're not going to fool us and sit up and play okie doke games. Listen, you cartoon and I'm not. All that cartoon stuff, that's you and I'm not. Look at their cartoons. For all the foreign countries, the Russians and everybody, look at their cartoons. You can tell they're goofy people, can't you? Got all these cartoons and crazy stuff. And they all serious all of a sudden. You some of the goofiest people, even in war, you're goofy. To me, you goofy. See, there are some people that are real savages and barbarians after all. And they don't find none of the games you playing as funny. And when they break you down, you and your family gonna suffer. See, you ain't on that level. You won't take the whole family. Other countries will. See, the real bottom line is when it comes to children, you go to one extreme or the other. You almost act like you date them, you date the children, and You like you almost in love with them, or you're having sex with them. You don't meet a medium like most adults. Like you think you do, but you don't. Culturally, collectively speaking, you don't meet a medium where where children are in their place, and you don't really care about children being in your life as an adult. You have to incorporate them into everything. That's an extreme to me. That's an extreme. Yes, it is. That's an extreme, which explains that it's an American perspective to worship children. Yeah, anything you put before the truth and God and purity is an idol, which is your God. Well, if you got an innocent person like me, you playing games concerning children, and when you put an innocent man below children, you have just begun to worship children, which means if you see that someone is innocent, a man or woman is innocent of anything you're talking about, you still playing games, that's child worship. That's child worship because you put the truth below children, which means you're in child worship. You don't love children, you're in worship of children because you put them above everything. That's not how it's supposed to be. God is above everything, who you should be worshiping, not children. Children is not above everything. Yeah, I know. And now I'm hitting some, ain't I? Children are not above everything. That's not my message. That's not my message. In fact, it's the opposite of my message. You should have children in the proper place instead of having them in child marriage in your country. Child marriage shows you worship children. Yes, you do. You go to the extreme. You're not normal. You think you're normal towards children. You know what's normal? A person not even really caring if children is in their life or not is a fully grown adult. Somebody that's not harping on children this, children that without evidence. Talking about child molesters, but you got no evidence. But then you're marrying children. You don't see the child worship in that. Accusing innocent people of messing with children, but yet you yourselves are having them in child marriage. That's not worship of children, where you're accusing innocent people, but yet you are marrying children at 10 years old. You don't tell me you worship children? Yes, you do. Culturally speaking, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because you have been in this worship, hear this part. This worship is influenced by white America, who is infatuated with child sexuality. Boom. Ow. Well, they dominate your community. That's why you in child worship too with them. That's a 7 album. Ow. Yeah, you in child worship with them because the white Americans have an infatuation with children, and so you're influenced by that power that's over you, and you in child worship yourself. You don't see most black people, infatuated with children. It's not our culture. We keep children in a child's place, which is out of adult politics, which is out of adults' environments. White people and other races, you incorporate children into too many things in your community. And then you wonder why people are messing with these children. You got them all over the videos. I'm going to say it like Suge Knight. All over the videos. All in the videos. Come to death row. I couldn't resist that one. All in the videos. Got these children all in the videos. And then you wonder why why people have these little pedophilia tendencies. You know why? Because you're blasting children all around, all on the commercials, all on the TV, everywhere. Not considering what they're doing in their day-to-day life, which would consist of being around naked, halfway masturbating all the time. This is what normal people do. And yet you got child images coming up while these people are half naked and masturbating all the time, touching themselves and everything else, touching other people, and you got all these child images. You worship children. And when you find a fully grown man that's standoffish, now you want to say he's the weirdo. But I'm going to do a video about that too. You can't claim a man is a pedophile or she is a pedophile, he or she is a pedophile when they're standoffish towards children. Well, that's the opposite, ain't it? Technically speaking. Technically speaking. You do not have the liberty or luxury to say someone is a pedophile and they're standoffish towards children. It's an obvious situation. How are they a pedophile when they're standing off? How are they a pedophile when they're standoffish towards children? Yeah, maybe, you know what it may be? You done played games so much that they can't stand your children. Yeah, it might be that. I'm just being real. You play so many games, psychological pedophile entrapment operation games, where you're using children as pedophile bait to try to play games and watch people's body language and see how they respond when they interact with children. You play those games so much that they can't stand your children. Because they're reminded of the gang stalking that your Freemasons and Illuminati has been playing. So maybe it isn't that they actually are pedophiles. They can't stand your children. Actually, that's what it is. Boom, ow. Hey, I'm being 100. I'm being 100. After all, everybody's human. Last time I checked. But you would think that the man that is standoffish or the woman that's standoffish is the one that has something to hide. How do they have something to hide when they're not engaged in children? You know who has something to hide? The people, you want me to tell you the ones doing something? The ones sitting around here teaching your children, them the ones that are the pedophiles. You can't tell me how to be. You can't tell me how to live my life. One thing for sure, as long as I'm not interacting with children, you are dead for playing games. That's the bottom. Ain't nobody playing no games, bro. The bottom line is if you're playing with somebody that's standoffish towards children and they don't have no interaction with children, you are dead. Okay? When you have all these teachers and you have all these people that wind up interacting with your children and having sex with your children, and you don't say nothing about these teachers that are caught having sex with them. So you know what I found out in your culture as well? In American culture, it's not the people that stand offish, it's the people that's teaching your children. It's the people that's teaching your children. It's the people that's actually engaging your children that wind up being pedophiles caught on TV on 5 o'clock news. You know who's on 5 o'clock news? Teachers, people who you trusted your children to, people who you thought were your guardians, the police, NYPD having sex with a 15-year-old girl. Go Google it. It was less than 10 years ago. You talking about stuff that happened, 20, 30 years ago? And you still ain't got it right. And you still don't know the right interpretations. And it really ain't nothing. Not what you said it is. So it's really nothing. We talking about something that happened less than 10 years ago. You got 2 NYPD cops that was having sexual interactions with a 15-year-old girl right here in New York City. Now, what you got to say about that? Oh, that's facts. That's facts, big baby. That's facts. You ain't got nothing to say about these facts, do you? Look, how you going to win? If it's according to facts, how are you winning? You're not winning according to facts. I got to do a video about that. That's the 7th hour. You're not winning according to facts. You got 43 states of child marriage. You got the NYPD having sex with a 15-year-old girl, which is illegal in New York. But look at the people that done got caught in New York City. They went to jail. They went to prison for having sex with a 15-year-old girl. They're in Rikers right now for it. But yet you have NYPD who only got fired. They only got fired. Last time I checked, firing somebody, making them unemployed does not stop them from being a criminal. In fact, some would say that would make them more of a criminal. This is what happened to the 2 NYPD cops. That's what happened to them. They just got fired. They just got unemployed. And they had sex. One of them got jacked off, got a hand job in the cop car, in the NYPD cop car. Got jacked off in the NYPD cop car by a 15-year-old girl. And you talking about what? What else you got to say? What you talking about? An NYPD cop got jacked off in a cop car that he's supposed to be serving your community in? This happened less than 10 years ago. It is nothing you can do about it. You can beep horns. It's not stopping the truth. It's not stopping the truth. It's not stopping it. You have NYPD cops that got jacked off in the cop car. Got jacked off in the cop car by a 15-year-old girl. That's illegal in the state of New York. The other cop took the 15-year-old girl and had her coming back and forth to his house in the middle of the night. This is NYPD. This is facts. This ain't no conspiracy theory. This ain't no speculation. NYPD having sex with a 15-year-old girl. And they didn't get arrested while other people are in Rikers. This is why judgment is on your whole community. Oh, I know you think it's just going to be another hollow injustice, don't you? Another hollow injustice where it's just empty of justice. It's just another hollow injustice, right? That's why judgment is coming on your whole community. And there is no consideration for your children. You know why? Because you didn't have consideration for them. You did not have consideration for them. You got 43 states of child marriage. Who in the American community can stand up and say, well, I had consideration for the children? Oh, you sure about that? Well, if you had consideration for the children, how you don't know about 43 states of child marriage? I mean, that's kind of blatant, don't you think? That's kind of blatant of a situation. How you got 43 states of child marriage and you can actually stand up and say you consider the children? So none of y'all consider the children. Did any of you consider the children? So that's why your children are not being taken seriously. They're not being considered anymore in this warfare. Well, how can you jump up and say something when you got child marriage right here? How can you say, wait, hold up a minute. Hold up what? You got 43 states of child marriage. Won't you sit back down, sucker? Won't you sit back down with your 43 states of child marriage having American citizen self? You got child marriage in 43 states and you gonna stand up and do what? You can't do it in the reality of your country. You can't do it in your right mind. It doesn't make sense in your right mind. Okay? So now your children are not considered and you can't get mad about it because you got the NYPD having sex with a child. Okay, this is what we talking about, man. This is what we talking about. You got an NYPD, 2 NYPD cops. And hear this part for people that don't know this story. The girl was in a precinct program. She was in a precinct program, which means she was in a cop program in the precinct. And these cops preyed on her. They didn't find her on the streets. She was in a program as a troubled teenager. She was a troubled teenager in a program in a cop precinct. And these men took her and had sex with her as she was a troubled teen. That makes it worse. It wasn't like she was some like vibrant. I'm not saying this is right. But she was some vibrant, little bubbly, little 15-year-old girl that they found somewhere in New York City somewhere, in Times Square somewhere. No, she was in a precinct as a troubled teen, and they had sex with her. A 15-year-old girl, and they New York cops. And you telling me I don't have a legitimate reason to dislike your country? You telling me I don't have a legitimate reason to hate your country? When y'all as a community, as New York City, this information came out in 2021 and you said nothing. You as a community said nothing. I was here in 2021. You said nothing. You didn't protest for that 15-year-old little girl that was molested by the NYPD cops. It's a fact, not speculation. It's a fact. And all they did was fire them, which is unemployed pedophiles. That's what that makes them. Ow, that's a 7, ow. That makes them unemployed pedophiles, which is worse. Now they on the streets. Your children all around them while they're unemployed. Now they got time on their hands. Pedophiles with times on their hands. I don't think that makes it better. When the American community here in New York mess with a 15-year-old girl, they going to jail. See, so it proves what I said, and I've been saying this time and time again. It's not what you do in America, it's who you are. I proved it. They did not arrest those men. They fired them, and that's it. You don't think they was happy? They just got fired. Man, they just walked away. They can do anything else. They're not even registered sex offenders. They don't even have to be looked at as a registered sex offender. Most people who knew about that case, okay, they might be able to find out, you know. But at the end of the day, all they have to do is go find some job that really doesn't care. Who knows how much money they had anyway? I'm pretty sure some cops can figure out how to make some more money. I'm pretty sure they can figure it out. Which means you did nothing, basically. They can go get employed again and still receive no punishment for the pedophilia acts they did against a 15-year-old girl. And you trying to press people up against me? I'm too educated. That's why they own me like that. You know why they own me? Because I know way more than all of y'all know. You think you know something, you don't know nothing. Yeah, you don't know nothing. And that's why everybody that's playing with me are consumed. You consumed in the fire because you got NYPD cops having sex, and it's a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact, man. And you know what that makes you? White, black, and Hispanics and Latinos, all hypocrites. Because you see what they doing and you do nothing about it, then you want to go by hearsay stuff you didn't see. That makes you a lame, fraudulent, hypocrite country, hypocrite community. I don't want to hear nothing from you. You know why? You got 43 states of child marriage. I don't want to hear none of you Americans say nothing about nothing when it comes to sex acts with children. You're not the one to judge, are you? Hey, that's what most people were saying. You definitely ain't the one to judge when you got 43 states with child marriage. Oh yeah, we own it every day, buddy. We own it every day. So we need to stop. You cops need to stop rolling around here, and all you little neighborhood watch people, all you little Law and Order people. You know people that like to watch Law and Order. Well, let me tell you something. While you was watching Law and Order, guess what? All those episodes were filmed under a country that has 43 states of child marriage. Ow. All of that was performed, all those Law and Order episodes were made under 43 states of child marriage. Why you walking around here like you some new era of justice? Well, why you think you some new era of justice or street justice? Why you got street justice? You got street justice submitted to 43 states of child marriage. That's a 7 hour. Yeah, street justice is submitted to it too. Well, you ain't getting street justice on them 43 states of child marriage now, are you? Hey, For all the street justice committee, why you ain't getting justice on that? Why you ain't getting street justice on them 43 states of child marriage? You know why? Because really you a sucker. You a lame. You ain't willing to die for it. That's why. Yeah, you willing to play a little games, but you ain't 100. You ain't built for it. You ain't no real soldier for it. Yeah, you want to play games and see God is looking at, okay, you really are cowards. Because when it comes to who's really doing it, and this man is showing you, who I know you're paying attention to, he's showing you cowards. You cower down, don't you? You cower down when I show you got 43 states of child marriage and you can't explain it, can you? You can't explain it, can you? That makes you all cowards in everybody in the principles and the mentality of real masters. You are all cowards. Okay, listen. You should be willing to die for that. You should be willing to die for that, big baby. You got 43 states of child marriage in America, and you didn't know about it. You should be willing to die for that. When you've been playing games like you're some righteous Nubian righteous community. How you a Nubian righteous community or a righteous American community when you got 43 states of child marriage, big baby? Make it make sense, bro. Stop contradicting yourself. Make it make sense. Because you're contradicting yourself to me, to somebody who's educated like I am. You got 43 states of child marriage. You passed your last child marriage law 3 years ago. I know you thought you could find a mutt in me, didn't you? Yeah, all my different ethnicities, you know what it did? It gave me more spiritual power over you. Well, what we know as human beings, not as dogs, is that the more ethnicities you have in your bloodline is the more spiritually powerful you are. Well, God promises different blessings to different bloodlines. So if you got many bloodlines, come on, morons, let's spell it out. If you got many bloodlines, you have many blessings, many spiritual inheritances. Yeah, I know you've been a moron. You thought having many different ethnicities made you weak. Yeah, because you too busy looking at dogs. You're too busy fighting dogs, and you apply the same thing to humans. Owl, this is 7 owl. Yeah, ain't no dog in me, big baby. I got many different ethnicities, and all of them got spiritual inheritances and spiritual power, and come from different. And I got all these different lines of different spiritual powerful people with the more bloodlines. I have over 10 solid bloodlines in my body. Yeah, you thought that made me a mutt. It made me more powerful than you. Boom, ow. Why you thinking one bloodline mean what it means? It means you just look definitely like one. That's all it means. That's about it, buddy. That's about it. It makes you look definitely like one. That's all. It doesn't make you any stronger. It just makes you more dominant as one. And there's no way one ethnicity can beat all ethnicities. I'm sorry to tell you, not even black people. You can't beat them all, buddy. Hey, you can't beat them all, man. I'm sorry to tell you. And even on the note of being African, I got 4 different types of African in me. Boom, ow. Do you got 4 different types of African? That's why you losing. Don't you see? Don't you see? I have 4 different types of African. What, you got about 1 or 2, maybe 3. I got 4. See, you lose, man. You lose. Stop playing with me, man. You lose. You can't beat me on nothing. Okay? And I don't have to get along with the present day African Americans when they're a sellout to the real plans and goals of the civil rights leaders. They're not following the blueprint of the civil rights leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. So why do I got to be loyal to them? Boom. Yeah, see, you thought I was a sellout. I just am educated enough and aware enough spiritually to realize I don't have to be loyal to foolishness. But you thought that mean I wasn't loyal to the whole thing. No, I'm not loyal to you because you're foolish and you're wasting time and money. That's the difference, suckers. I don't have to be loyal to you. Why? Explain as a spiritual man of God, as a prophet of God, why do I have to be loyal to you? Explain it. Make it make sense. I want to know why. Without talking about your guns and talking about what you can do, why do I have to be loyal to you? What do you got going on that I should be loyal to you about? See, this is what separates the men from the boys. Put up your gun and won't you talk about why I should be loyal to you? Huh? And that's the thing about it. Most of you are hiding behind your guns and you ain't got no manhood. Ooh, yeah. That's a 7 hour. You ain't got no manhood. Put your gun up. Let's see what you know and you don't know about your own country. Let's see what you know and you don't know about your own people. See, really, all these people hiding behind guns are children. They have no manhood. Many of them, I'm not saying all of them, many of them do not have no manhood. So it's good to they just act out with their guns, and when stuff, they can't handle it like a real man, they just pull their gun out. See, I can handle all of this while hurting somebody. You see what I did? That makes me more of a man than half of y'all. Because I beat this country with information, without one nuke, without one bomb, without one explosion into your community, without busting somebody's head wide open. I defeated your whole country. I think that technically makes me more of a man than my gun-toting enemies. Yeah, you got guns, but you ain't got no manhood. Well, won't you put your gun up and we can talk face to face and you tell me why I need your alliance and why should I be loyal to you? Tell me why. You're part of the problem. Yeah, I know you ain't heard nobody talk like this but the sellouts. Now you find somebody that's righteous, that talks the same language close to the sellouts, and you can't get it. You scratching your head. Because righteousness cannot stand with wickedness, buddy, and that's all it is to it. Righteousness cannot stand with wickedness, and it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. I can't stand with wickedness. I only stand with righteousness, and I'll tell any man that. And you can't, listen, how can you win when I'm right? How can you win when I am right about it? Huh? I'm right. I can tell you why you need to be loyal to me. Because I'm the one to show you who your country really is. You got 43 states of child marriage, and none of y'all know nothing, including black people. That's number one. That's number one. Huh? That's number one. I'm a prophet of God. That's number two. Boom, ow. Well, the prophet is where you want to be. He's the one that's going to lead the people. What you doing? How you going to lead the people? You're going to lead the people to a dead end somewhere and be kicked, and they're going to be knocked off. That's what's going to happen. They're going to be surrounded and knocked off. You have no spiritual direction. That's the other reason. You lack spiritual direction. Why should I be loyal to you? Okay? Just like Moses. Moses led the people out of captivity. How can you do that? How can you do it? You can't do it, can you? That's two solid reasons. You got child marriage in your country. I'm the one revealing it. I led the people out of the fake image that they had of America. I'm already leading. Why you want to be a leader? I don't want to be a leader, but that's the ones who God choose. The ones that don't even want it. Because I ain't going to have all that ego and pride and all that little dumb stuff you got going on. You want to be a king. You know why you ain't one yet? You know why you ain't officially a king? Because you want to be one. That's the first mistake right there. You don't ever want to be a king. That's where the African American community messed up. That's a 7 hour. Yeah, you want to be kings. You know that's your first mistake. Because once you get to a certain point, you're going to stop. Boom. If you don't want to be it, you're going to just keep going. You blind to it. You're blind to whatever you're becoming. And you keep climbing and progressing. See, when you get to a certain level and everybody say you a king, that's when you stop. That's when you stop right there. Because that's all you wanted. You wanted the fame of being a king. You wanted the people to say you was a king. I don't want none of that. And that's why God chose me. Because I'm not arrogant like your American hip hop community where everybody wants to be kings and queens. You know what I want to be? I want to be a servant of God. That's what I want to be. And that's why I am king. That's why, without even trying to be one. Well, how can I not be king when I'm drenched in God's presence? When I'm drenched in God's power? That's going to make me king. That's going to. This whole atmosphere is drenched in God's power. The king is here. How can I not be? How can this area not be king when the king is here? The king is nowhere near you. That's why your people are still drowning while you talking about you a king. And I done lifted them up out of the worst illusion that in this whole history. They got child marriage in this country. That's the worst illusion, that we thought this country was a child protecting country. It is not a child protecting country. Let's settle that. Let's settle it. It's not a child protecting country. How are they a child protecting country with 43 states of child marriage, man? Man, come on, man. Make it make sense, bro. Man, who intelligence, man? Y'all, man, that's what made me think y'all lame. That's what made me think you are a lame. You are wet behind the ears, video game playing lame. You know the type, little sucker sitting up playing video games. Because how can you say this is a child protecting country? I don't care about you. I'm talking about the whole thing, man. Who cares? You are nobody. Do we know you? Then you don't matter. Is it right or wrong? But we do know America. We do know the system of America. We all do, all worldwide. You are nobody. We don't care what you do. We talking about what they doing. And they got 43 states of child marriage. You sitting around talking about, well, it ain't me. We don't know you. We don't care if it's not you. We talking about something that's in the spotlight, which is your American government that has 43 states of child marriage. While you sitting up here saying, well, I'm a family guy. What difference does it make? You're a moron. You can't see the difference between you and your family values and a whole collective government with their lack of family values. You can't see the difference. You see them talking about, well, it ain't me. Who cares if it's not you? It's them, though. It's the American system that we have to submit to. It's that, though. Why you sitting up talking about, well, one day I wish we could be free? Just a moron. You should be taking full advantage of this to be set free. You can't read between the lines. This is the revolution. Well, why should we submit to a country that's got child marriage? I don't submit to them. I'm only doing things because the law still is inactive. The law is still active. That's it. That's the only reason I ain't breaking no laws, because the laws are still active. Because they still ignorant. But I do not submit within my soul to a country that has 43 states of child marriage. Ain't gonna happen, buddy. Nah. Come on, man. That's a pedophile. Sitting up trying to tell me what to do, locking me up. Look at it as one man. A pedophile man locking you up. Ain't gonna happen, bro. It ain't gonna happen, man. You can lock me up physically, but you can never make me feel that you're more just than me. That's a 7 hour. Boom. You could lock me up physically, but I would never feel you're more just or able to be a discerner of what is right and wrong, or a judge of what is right and wrong. And that's all of you when you have 43 states of child marriage. You can't never make me feel like you actually locked me up. Now you see why we have anarchy. How can you make any man feel he's locked up by a just system when that same system has 43 states of child marriage and passed their last child marriage law 3 years ago from 2023? It'll be 4 years in July. They passed the child marriage law. How would you ever feel like you're properly locked up under justice when that's what they doing? Come on, man. Make it make sense, man. That's why you dealing with the best, buddy. I ain't got to use no guns. I can put up any weapons and still defeat you. That's what real masters do. Because there's different wars, and most of you Americans don't know the different wars. All you know is shoot, 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 boom, boom, pow. And you still all under the government. You still under the government. With all your guns, you still under the government, and they can change any day on you. They can turn their back any day on you. You see what trouble you in? Well, how are you going to be free? When they can do anything they want to at any given time. When you don't know what they're going to do next. How are you free? I am free because I've already seen my enemy defeated. Listen, man, they got 43 states of child marriage. You don't think that's defeat? That's a pedophile, man. That's a real one. That's a real pedophile sitting up trying to worry about what I'm doing. And listen, you submitted to him. So you a pedophile by, association. You a pedophile by association. You associated with him. Yeah, I know you don't want to hear it like that, but that's the real levels of technicalities of masters. You are associated with him. You associated with him. You associated with him. So how you ain't one? Well, you listen, silence gives consent in this situation. Silence gives consent. You ain't saying nothing about it. You ain't saying nothing about these 43 states of child marriage. Silence gives consent, bro. Yeah, we going all the way. This is real. Just like T.I. say, it came to this. It came to this. Yeah, it's real. Yeah, you're just not used to somebody turning their back on something. Here in America, you're not used to it. You're not used to somebody turning their back on everybody. Well, I have the right, don't you think? 43 states of child marriage, that ain't the right. And all of y'all ignorant. You either was part of it or you was ignorant to it. So that ain't my reason to turn, that ain't a solid reason to turn my back on y'all. I ain't talking about you, I'm talking about me. Which is a difference. You see the difference between me and you? Yeah, you ain't got no valid reason to turn your back because you part of the problem. How you gonna turn your back? You part of the problem. You just as ignorant as everybody else out there. How you gonna turn your back? Huh? I'm talking about me. Now you see the difference. Now you see why my position is the way it is and yours is the way it is. You don't got no reason to turn your back. You just as worse as they are. I don't know what to tell you to do, but you just as much of a problem as they are. I'm part of the solution. You got 43 states of child marriage. I fear no man. I fear no man. You understand? You can't be me. You see what I'm saying? You can't be me. You got 43 states of child marriage. How you gonna see me, man? Man, come on, man. That's a joke, yo. And I don't care what kind of Jedi mind trick you use. That technicality is what it is, bro. It is what it is. You cannot be serious. You can't wiggle around. You can't do nothing. That's it. And that's what makes my war unique. My war is unique because it's nothing they can do. And they lost already. I don't have to use one gun. And it starts the revolution. God did that. God provided that information. You're telling me I'm right or wrong? That's what I needed. That's what I needed. That's exactly what I needed. I needed that information. God provided that information. And he wants me to be respected for releasing it and laboring with this information. Yes, he does. I'm the one laboring. Y'all ain't doing nothing. I'm taking all the shots. You ain't doing nothing. I'm taking all this war and you acting like you affiliated. How you affiliated when you ain't taking the same level of warfare I'm going through? You ain't affiliated, man. You another fan. You a fanatic. You a disciple Marcello fanatic. That's what you are. All on my job, man. That's all it is, man. And listen, I ain't playing that fan stuff. This ain't a sport. This is not a sport. I know they told you this is some game and contest, and it's not. How's a game when I got 43 states of child marriage on them? Does that seem like a contest to you? As serious as that is, you think this is a contest? That tell you how dumb they are, man. That tell you how goofy they are. How you gonna think this is a contest when you got your country under fire for having 43 states of child marriage? America now. And you think it's a contest? That show you how goofy they are, bro. That's what I'm trying to show you. Look how goofy they are. At the end of the day, look how goofy they are when it's such a serious issue that I'm talking about. Look how goofy they are. And I got credibility with it. You just didn't know you just didn't know I was thinking about this. You just didn't. I've been on this for some years now. Yeah, I know. You think I just popped up with it like a bulletproof vest. I've been on this. I've been laboring about what you are, which is a country that has the age of consent under 18 in 40 states. That was my beginning. Because that was my beginning. That was my beginning. That's when I started talking on. The age of consent under 18 in 40 states. That was little did I know they had child marriage. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know. I started out with the age of consent, under 18, right? In 40 states. That's what I started with, which is wrong because, look, in the real world we live in, not in Ronald McDonald world, in the real world, you're either a child or an adult. Not no hybrid in betweens. Not no elves or what's the hobbits. Ain't no such thing as no hobbits in our world. Okay? For people that like the Lord of the Rings, there's no hobbits here. There's no hobbits. Hobbits, tomato, hobbits, you know what I'm talking about. There's no hobbits. There's only children and adults. An adult should not be having sex with a child. I don't care what age the child is. And that's what I started out with. The age of consent being under 18 in 40 states, which is adults having sex with children. And I've been on that for years. I've been on that for years now. Once it goes past 1 year, that's years. Just in case you thought I was just using this as some gimmick or something because you a YouTube community and generation. I just use YouTube. I'm not a YouTube community member. Yeah, you're a YouTube community member. That's why you're so goofy now. I don't belong to the YouTube community membership. That's why I haven't paid for all that little extra membership stuff they got on there. You got all the memberships and everything. Because you're a YouTube community member. You're a Facebook member. I just use it to communicate with the Russians. Hey, you can know it. Ain't nothing you can do about it. But you're a Facebook member. Participating in Facebook stuff. Come on, man. You can't be serious, bro. And so you've been playing games and I haven't. You've been part of this community and I have not been part of it. That's why you're so goofy now. You think it's a game, don't you? How's the game when you continually losing, bro? How's the game when they gang stalked me, 3 days ago for Valentine's Day? They gang stalked me Valentine's Day. 3 days later, you have a child that was hit in this community. Right here in this community. I looked it up, 47 minutes of walking distance from where I live at. I can walk 47 minutes to this place where this kid was killed yesterday. These are repercussions for you using children in gang stalking. You use children in gang stalking, guess what's going to happen? They're going to start dying. I told you this. And you can get mad all you want to. At the end of the day, it's you that's putting children in harm's way. Well, you know every weapon in spiritual war can be broken, including children. If you use children in spiritual warfare, we have spiritual legal right to destroy anything that's used in warfare, including children. And this explains why your country's children are dying just out of nowhere in the same community neighborhood where I live at. Yeah, I know they know about it. I know they know about that. Listen, man. The prophet Elijah, for Christians, the prophet Elijah killed 40